Hello, everyone. It's me, Nigel Seeley, and welcome along to Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. It's a number one tennis betting podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. I'd like to say, joining me across across the pond, but he's not across the pond, he's across the English Channel. It's our friend, our senior ATP Tour handicapper. Is it au revoir or no? That's what I don't know. Bonjour.
That's
I'm
goodbye,
not.
isn't it?
I don't know. I'm not the greatest of any language at all. I'm not even the best at English. But bonjour, my friend. How are you?
Bonjour, bonsoir. I suppose it should be at this time of day. Yes, I'm all right. I've already been told off for my pronunciation of bonsoir, so let's not assume that I'm an expert in languages here.
Well, you've actually excelled in the last 2 minutes against me, but honestly, anybody can excel against me. But anyway, it's Sean Calvert. He's over in Paris for the ATP Tour 1000 event this week in the French capital. It's the final ATP Tour 1000 event of the season. And judging by our Instagram, judging by our sort of Twitter feed, you don't seem to be very happy to be out in the French capital. What's going on?
It's this tournament. It's they just don't organize it properly. I don't know why they do this. A Masters series in 7 days, singles and doubles on 3 courts, 2 of which hold probably about 150 to sort of 200 people each, and it's not ticketed. It's mad. Yeah, you could think of any of the other Masters 1000s that we've got in the season. You've been to a lot of them. I've been to Indian Wells. You've been to Miami. You're thinking about Madrid, Rome, all this sort of stuff. I know they've got extra time built in this year, but even when they didn't have the extra time built in, they've got a lot more courts. They're stuffing a huge draw into 7 days into 3 tiny courts, and you can't get into the lower dungeon courts. Well, if you can get into it, once you're there, you've got to stay there, because if you come out of there, you aren't getting back in, and you can't stay down there because there's no toilets, there's no food, there's no drinks, there's nothing. It's just the lower dungeon, and then. It's just annoying because a lot of the good matches are on down there, and obviously the centre court tends to be reserved for the French players, not exclusively, but the big names, the high seeds, the French players. Great, fine, I get that, but the matches downstairs, they're just so hard to access. It just makes it a nightmare. Apart from that, it's fine.
You're 30 seconds away from the front door. You haven't got no taxi fare, you got no Uber fare, you don't need a tram.
That's fine. I'm more than happy with that.
Walk across, have a coffee, go back when the queue goes down.
Yeah, but you can't get into the lower courts. That's the problem. If it was centre court, obviously, which I do have centre court tickets, because that's the only ticket you can buy. You can't buy tickets for the lower dungeon. So that's absolutely fine. But if you want to watch the ones on court 1 and court 2, you do have to queue up for an absolute age because there's so few seats down there.
How much you pay for the ticket today?
You're going to laugh at this, aren't you?
No.
13 euros.
And you're moaning. 13 euros.
There's a reason I paid 13 euros. It wasn't because that's I was trying to be cheap. I can see people would perhaps suspect that, but that is not the case. It's because that was all that was left. I didn't order these tickets until about September. I'd kind of forgotten I was going, to be honest. And by the time I ordered them, that was all there was left. I had slightly better seats yesterday, 22 euros. They were fine.
Oh, it must have broke the Calvert Bank, 22 euros.
But it was just what there was. This is a very, very popular event. People are willing to queue up for long periods of time, which obviously I'm not. But that it is what it is. That was all the tickets there was left. But that's all good. But it's this court 1 and court 2 business. It just annoys me. That's all.
But I saw your post on Instagram, and you were complaining about getting past about 10 people. Once you got past 10 people. There was nobody there.
I had to read.
Oh, look at this. They're out here for lunch. And then all of a sudden you got past it. There was nothing.
That's because that's away from the queue. I had to redo that video about 2 or 3 times because I just literally couldn't move. And I was just stood stock still. And I just thought, this is weird doing a video when I'm surrounded by all these many people. But the reason that wasn't less people is because I moved away to the exit. So that's why there were a few people there. But yeah, it's just not great organization.
Well, the most important thing from my perspective is that last time we spoke, you said it was €8 to €70 for a pint of Stella.
€9.60, I said, didn't I?
I thought €8.70. Was it have you found anywhere cheaper?
My hotel bar does Heineken at €9.
Oh, get this. What are you doing that? Go down the €9.60 for Stella is the bargain of the for €9.
It is, but you've got to sit there in them bistros and everyone's sat there smoking and stuff, and it's not that pleasant.
I've come to the conclusion you just don't like people.
Depends what they're doing.
Smoking and just having fun, John. That's what they're doing. I mean, watching tennis, having fun and getting some lunch.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm working there. That's if they're having fun, that's absolutely fine. But I'm not particularly keen on sitting in a sort of drafty terrace with lots of cigarette smoke wafting around. To be honest, no.
Are we having fun with the winners? And we've had a mixed tournament. You've sat and watched the. I think the mood that you had was really because of the Van Asch match yesterday, where
you think so?
I think that sort of set the tone for the trip.
I'm not sure about that. I think I would have had this exact same opinion whether he won or lost. To be honest with you.
Yeah, but you wouldn't mind spending a little bit more money on it. You would just, if I had to cash that ticket, or someone smokes, say, yeah, I'll have one as well. I'll join in with you.
I'm not bothered. I mean, let's, I just, if you can get away with it, if you can get away from that and be somewhere a bit more sort of to your liking, then do it.
Etcheverry, he won for us today.
Yeah,
you watched the match.
Eventually,
what do you think?
I watched the first sort of hour and a half, and then I needed a drink, but because you can't get anything, it's not an alcoholic drink. But I hasten to add, it was water. It was water.
How much are you paying for water?
€3.50. I think the water is. It's quite reasonable. Okay. I've got no problem with that. But the problem is you've got to come back up, and once you've come up those 400 stairs from the lower dungeon, you're not going back there. That's the problem. You can't. There's no toilets down there. There's no drinks, no food, nothing. So once you're there, be aware you're stuck with it.
Well, let me tell you something. I had an hospital appointment today. 25 floors in St. Guy's Hospital in London, at London Bridge, and the elevators weren't working. I had to walk 25 flights of stairs.
How many stairs was that, do you reckon? A couple of hundred?
I had to stop 3 times. And there was no Heineken or no Stellas on refreshments on floor.
You could have had a coffee or something, I suppose.
Well, yeah. If you're talking about prices in hospitals they're more expensive than what you're playing at the Accor Arena there in Versailles in Paris. Anyway, enough about our woes. It's all about the future. And I think we're slightly up. But before we move on to tomorrow's matches and look at the match, we've got 5 matches to talk about. One name I want to throw at you, Sebastian Korda.
Yeah, he was injured, unfortunately.
I know,
had a wrist injury. That was another match I would have liked to have seen, but there was absolutely no chance I was getting back down to that basement section once I come out of it. I had to watch most of the Etcheverry match, or half of it at least, on my phone. And I was sat next to a lady that was actually watching on her phone, Korda. So I was kind of glancing at her phone and looking at my phone to see what was going on. That's where we're at. Yeah, disappointing. He had a wrist injury, so even if he'd have won that match, his chances were bleak, really, to be fair.
Next time you sit next to a woman on the phone, you need to tell her to download Betting Weekly Game Bet Match on the Bet Rivers Network, and also make sure
in French.
Follow, Madame.
Good luck with that. Should have called the security by the time I'd done the first 2 or 3 words. I think
maybe, but just get her phone, rip it off, and put it on, and also get her to follow the Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube. There you go. That is my French lesson for today.
Italian, wasn't it? That, but anyway, go on.
Anything. Any European, any European. So let's move on to tomorrow. Before the accents and before we get slated by my accents, and we have 5 matches tomorrow in action today. On Wednesday's play, we have 5 matches on round 2, and we're going to start off with 2 players that have played many times before. Grigor Dimitrov up against Daniil Medvedev, the guy who was in great form last week in Vienna when he got to the final, got beat by Jannik Sinner. The head-to-head here is a very commanding 6-2 for Medvedev. They did meet in Vienna last week in that tournament in the round of 16, and Medvedev come through in a very, very close one. He's a favourite here. He's minus 295 now. The odds we have on the graphic might be a little bit different, but he's plus 230 for Dimitrov. 3.5 is the spread here. Minus 105 Dimitrov, minus 122 Medvedev, and the total here is 22.5. If you look at these 2 matches between these 2 players, Medvedev has won the last 3, and the last time Dimitrov won was in Indian Wells in 2021. I thought that Medvedev pushed him Dimitrov pushed Medvedev quite close in Vienna, but he come through there. He's played a lot of tennis as well. Medvedev got the ATP Tour finals to come. If Dimitrov has got a chance, it could potentially be on here. But before we look at this match, give us the court speeds and conditions, because that is really important where these matches are being played, on the centre court or the court number one, down in the dungeons you refer to them, Sean.
It is a dungeon. That's the only way to describe it, really. Basement is generous. I was interested in what Sasha Zverev said, actually, earlier on after his match against Fucsovics. He said it was the centre court that he played on. He said it was the lowest bouncing court he's ever played on. I'm not really sure where he's getting that from. The only thing I can think that he meant was because he went on to talk about the slice and how Fucsovic's slice barely left the court. Yes, I could potentially see a slice not really bouncing much, but your general sort of topspin rally shot, that's bouncing pretty high. So I'm not sure his words were quite accurate there. To me, it's the same as in previous years. The centre court looks kind of spongy, higher bouncing, not quite as quick. I suspect it's because it's laid on top of a different surface. I guess from what I've seen, I guess that the courts 1 and court 2 are laid on a kind of more of a concrete, maybe just a harder surface, because it looks different. The sheen on it looks totally different on courts 1 and court 2 than it does on centre court. So for me, quicker on courts 1 and court 2, higher bouncing and much slower on centre court.
And this match is actually being played. Is it a centre court match? I would have thought Daniil Medvedev against Dimitrov.
They're not always quick with the schedule because they're miles behind with the match. I'll just very quickly have a look now, see if the schedule is. I imagine it will be.
Yeah,
I can't see Medvedev's not going to be on court 1 or court 2, so I guess it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's scheduled for 5 a.m. in the morning. So that's Eastern time, 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, there's no schedule yet.
What's your opinion on this one?
I just, on their Vienna clash of last week, Dimitrov should fancy his chance of at least making it close. There's only 6 points in it overall, and Medvedev had played a match, obviously, in the tournament prior to that. Now he's coming in cold after that loss from Sinner. I think the interesting stat here with Dimitrov is that he's been pretty competitive against top 10 opponents this season. He's either won the match or taken the set 10 times in the 15 matches that he's played against top 10 opponents in 2023. I'm not sure Medvedev's really. I can see he's a bit like me, Medvedev. I can see some moaning coming on here from Medvedev. As soon as he's played this, I think he's going to start saying, "Oh, it's slower than Indian Wells," which is his stock statement. Anytime a court isn't lightning quick, so a sort of slowish, high bouncing centre court where the slice stays low. For me, that would be a decent conditions for Grigor Dimitrov if Zverev is right about what he says about the slice. Medvedev's a decent record here, back-to-back finals, 2020 and 2021, but he did lose in the first round, his first match last year to Alex de Minaur. So I think this could be reasonably close. Overs looks potentially the play to me here. When I looked earlier, it was plus 107 Bet Rivers. That's over 22.5 games.
Over now is plus 102. Coming cash last week in Vienna. Dimitrov, though, coming towards the end of his career, but Medvedev has got some big matches coming up. We'll see how they go here. But Dimitrov pushed him close in Vienna, and we think he's going to push him close again. The over 22.5 plus 102. Head to BetRivers website. There is 36 different markets available on this match. So head over there, across there. 5 a.m. in the morning, the schedule of play is going to start Eastern time. So we don't know yet who plays on what court, but we expect this to be centre court and get across early. And if you do place a bet, you can obviously watch it, live stream it on your tablet or your mobile phone or your iPad or whatever mobile device you have. Next match, Tommy Paul. He's up against Botic van der Zandschulp. Now, Botic van der Zandschulp have had a terrible kind of run in the last couple of months, but he's showing some signs of good form here. Tommy Paul is minus 148. Botic van der Zandschulp, easier for me to say. Botic van der Zandschulp is plus 118. The spread is 1.5. Tommy Paul minus 1.5 is minus 117. Botic is minus 109. And the total is a very high 23.5 with over plus 102. If you look at van der Zandschulp's form coming into it, he's showing some decent form. He's showing some well, and he does lead the head-to-head in Davis Cup, which he won 7-6, 6-2 this year. Van der Zandschulp, like I say, reached the last 16 in Basel, and he come through qualifying here in two decent wins, and he beat Manarino in very impressive style in the round one. Tommy Paul come through a first round match against Richard Gasquet. He lost the first set 6-love, and he's showing forms of a little bit of a come down here. The money already has come for Van der Zandschulp. He's plus 118. That is not far off being the best price in the land. And I'm guessing from the way these two players have come into this tournament that you want to get with the Dutchman here.
Yeah, I do. Tommy looks like he's done for the season, to be honest. On his display against Gasquet, as you say, dropped the first set 6-love. It was a bizarre match. He somehow came through it. He dropped that first set 6-love, managed to find himself. He clawed his way all the way back to leading 5-2 in the final set. Couldn't close it out. Went all the way to a final set tiebreak. Gasquet was 6-3 up in that particular tiebreak, and Gasquet, as he so often does, he just didn't have the courage to really finish it off. And Tommy Paul ended up nicking that match. I think he apologized to the crowd afterwards, actually. So I think he said something like, I should never have won that, or something along those lines. The American players have looked pretty jaded, haven't they? Taylor Fritz has pulled out, injured. TFO, again, lost in straight sets. Korda, obviously, injured as well. I could just see Tommy just thinking about going home here, to be honest with you. Van der Zandschulp still has an interest this season in Davis Cup. He's playing for the Netherlands in the Davis Cup. They're in the final 8 there. As you said, he's already beaten Tommy Paul in that particular competition about 6 weeks ago. Also on indoor hard. He was a much bigger price then. He was plus 283 priced up at that day, Van der Zandschulp. But the odds are much closer because I just feel like Van der Zandschulp has a really, really good chance here. He's finding his form again after that nightmare sort of late spring summer that he had with the meltdown in the Munich final, what that did to his confidence and the injuries and all the rest of it. But now he's won 6 of his last 7 matches. I just feel Tommy's done for this season. Botic isn't. So I'm more than happy to take the underdog here. 2.18, did you say, Van der Zandschulp?
Yep. He's plus 118.
Yeah, let's take that. Yeah.
Is that an official pick?
That is an official pick.
So that is our first official pick on the 2 matches. We're talking about Dimitrov and Medvedev, a lean towards Dimitrov on the overs as well. And Botic Van der Zandschulp, but plus 118 is our first official pick against Tommy Paul, who, remember, lost the first set 6-love against Richard Gasquet. Okay, moving on to the next match. And this one here is an intriguing one for me. Holger Rune, as we know, is sitting in the 8th place in the race for Turin. He's minus 186 against Dominic Thiem, who's plus 150. Dominic Thiem is always a public play. I know Sean has always been quite reluctant to get involved with the Austrian here. If you look at their record indoors this season, very similar. They played once already this year in Monte Carlo. Holger Rune won 6-2, 6-4, but admittedly, he was at the top of his game then when Thiem wasn't. The spread here is 2.5. 2.5 start for Holger Rune. 2.5 start for Dominic Thiem. He's minus 114. Holger Rune minus 2.5 is minus 112. And the total here is 22.5. I'm always wondering about your thinking when you put the underdogs in here. And with Dominic Thiem, the way you're sort of anti-Dominic Thiem in the last sort of 3 or 4 months, is he now the former US Open champion, a price that you, Mr. Calvert, wants to get involved in? Or do you think I can't see you having much faith in Holger Rune at minus 186?
Yeah, I mean, the problem we've got today is that we haven't really got many odds. So the matches are kind of chosen for us, aren't they, really? The top sort of 5 matches are obviously the ones where we've got odds. This is such a fluid situation here in Paris, Bercy, that, results are coming in all the time, even as I'm looking here on the phone, and odds then would follow a few hours later. But this is an intriguing match to talk about. I think there were really good signs from Thiem against Wawrinka. As you said, I've not been a massive believer in this Thiem comeback. I said at the start that it didn't, not at the start, but after a couple of months, it didn't really look like it was getting off the ground, and it still hasn't really. He shows flashes and then he doesn't. And I'm still not convinced that he's going to get back to where he was in the world rankings. But decent signs.
That is a pretty obvious statement. But he's not going to compete to win in majors. But like Andy Murray come through an injury and can compete. It's the question of like.
Well, he's much younger than Andy Murray, isn't he? But yeah.
But how do we rate Dominic Thiem now, when he's not at his best against these young players coming through that arguably are nowhere near the competitors of yesteryear or in the last 10 years. I don't think Holger Rune is anywhere near the caliber of the top 10 years ago.
Not at the moment. Not at the moment.
Yeah. So that's the question. I mean, we know that Dominic Thiem will not be winning majors again. I'd very safely bet the very heavy minus money that he won't win a major. But could he break in the top 20? Is Holger Rune a top 5 player in the world? That's the question we have to understand here.
Yeah, tricky questions. And the other tricky one for Dominic Thiem is that he finished at 2:30 in the morning against Stan Wawrinka yesterday. Not an unusual occurrence at Paris, but see, I have to say, rode his luck a bit as well. Wawrinka served for the match, had a match point, couldn't finish it off. Thiem played some nice tennis, and obviously he's come through qualies as well, so he's much more used to the conditions here this year than Holger Rune is, who's people probably forget he's the defending champion here. Holger Rune. Doesn't seem likely that he'll defend his title, but I'm just looking at the draw here. It has slightly opened up for him a little bit, hasn't it? Because Taylor Fritz has withdrawn. Arthur Fils lost to Altmaier today. Altmaier was the first man into the last 16, I think it is, which you wouldn't have expected. But so he might be looking at this draw now and thinking, well, I've got a decent chance, but his form is just very, very patchy. He's obviously working on some adjustments to his game with Boris Becker. That's going to take time. I don't think he's going to get results instantly. He was lucky to beat Etcheverry in Basel. It wasn't close against Felix, having won that fortunate match against Etcheverry. So he's got a lot of work to do to consolidate his place in that top 5 that you just mentioned. I wonder if that late night match will cost Thiem, though, because this has a feeling of a long match about it, and Rune tends to win most of these. He's won 9 of his last 12 deciding set matches, Holger Rune. So if I was betting in this one, I'd be tempted with the 2-1. I don't know whether you've got the odds on your screen there, but for Rune to win this 2-1, I imagine it'd be roughly 3.75 or something around that sort of mark. That's a guess.
Let me have a look for you now. That could be a very good guess. Let me find it. 2-1 for Holger Rune is plus 270.
There you go. It was pretty close, wasn't I?
I don't believe you. I think you had that on the other screen.
They're always roughly that price. It's always approximately that ish, thereabouts. You're never too far away with that. So I'd probably go with that one there. I think this will be tight. Overs is another possibility. Rune isn't at his best. Thiem isn't at his best. So it could be an edgy one, a scratchy one, but I think it'll probably go 3.
3 sets. Holger Rune to win 2-1. He's fantastic in that final set. He's got a brilliant record, defending champion, a lot of points to defend, and he's also got to protect that 8th spot in the race for Turin, which we're going to come on to a little bit. The man chasing him down is Hubert Hurkacz, who's our final match we're going to talk about. Before we talk about that match, we're going to talk about Novak Djokovic against Tomas Martin Etcheverry. Now, Novak Djokovic is making his first appearance on the ATP Tour since winning the did he win? No, let's go back again. The US Open final.
Yeah, he's only played one match since then. Yeah, Davis Cup.
Davis Cup, I forgot that. So he's minus $12. He's up against Tomas Martin Etcheverry, who's plus $7 here. Now, they've met once before, and it was this year in Rome on the clay. And Djokovic won 7-6-6-2. Etcheverry is a big underdog here. I'm going to get you the handicap. I've just gone into you've made me go into the Holger Rune market. Talk about the what you think about this match, and I'll give you the props, Sean.
Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a bit closer than the odds suggest. I think this is not going to be an easy match for Djokovic, given that he hasn't played for quite some time. And in any case, if you look at what Djokovic has done recently in his opening match in Paris, it has tended to be a bit of a struggle for him. Last year, his first match, he won 7-6, 6-4 against Cressy. I know that's an awkward matchup for your first one, but even so, okay, go back to the year before, played Marton Fucsovics, had to win it in 3 sets. Prior to that, it was 2019 that he played in his opening match in Bercy. Another tight one, 7-6, 6-4 against Corentin Moutet. So he certainly has a history of coming in here, and yes, he's got a good record at this tournament, but he's tended to build his way into it. He hasn't tended to start well in these Paris Masters tournaments. I said the other day on the show, Etcheverry is improving on hard courts. And, that was a really, really good win for him today against Djokovic's doubles partner. He played doubles with Kekmanovic earlier on, I think it was on court 2, Djokovic. So good win that was. It was a tough match, really tough, long match. And I feel like the set one overs here, or the total games look like the ones. I think Djokovic will probably win it in the end, but the spread when I looked earlier on on set one overs. Have you got over 9.5 games in set one?
I've got it here in front of me. Over 9.5 games is plus 125.
Yeah, plus money about the first set going to 10 games or more. I think that's the spot here. I think if Djokovic wins that first set, 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, I think he's doing really, really well. So I think if I was having a bet on this particular match, that's where I'd be looking.
And over 19.5 games is minus 120. The money line is a very strong minus 1,200 for Djokovic, plus 700 for Etcheverry. And the spread is around about 5.5. Etcheverry a favourite, minus 148, plus 5.5. But a long time off court, big match coming back. Got to finally tune Etcheverry. Would you be concerned about Etcheverry's performance today? Long match, would that worry you a little bit?
No, I think. Well, if I'm going for the set one, I mean, I'm not obviously. I don't need him to go the whole distance. But another thing I forgot to mention actually, when they played in Rome, Etcheverry should have won that first set. Actually, it was a break up. Ended up being a tie break that Djokovic won. But yeah, 2 hours 48 this time of the season. It's not ideal. I take your point. It's not great to be playing almost 3 hours in the end of October, start of November. But I think the rustiness for Djokovic, I think it'll take him a little bit of time to shake that off.
Final match, Hubert Hurkacz, minus 275 against Roberto Bautista Agut, the veteran on the tennis scene, is plus 220. Now, of all the players in the draw, Hubert Hurkacz has more motivation than anybody to go deep here. He needs to overtake Holger Rune. Now, we opposed him in round one against Sebastian Korda, not in the match, but obviously we took Sebastian Korda to win the match. Sebastian Korda was injured. You were there watching part of that game. Did Hurkacz look a bit tired? Did you think he, was it a little bit worried about that? Yeah, he's minus 275 here. Everyone knows he needs to win. Everyone needs to go deep in the tournament. He actually needs to better Holger Rune by probably a round or 2 rounds to get into that final spot, or give him a great chance to get into that final spot. The public will be betting Hubert Hurkacz. I mean, me, the untrained eye, not being there, I'm looking at Hurkacz and thinking, now he's won that match. He's motivated, he's pumped, he's playing well. I might want to bet him to win the tournament. That's my logic of it, thinking that he needs to win. He's going to be really motivated, and it's something that's proved me profitable before this tournament. I've talked about many years ago. I bet players who needed to win this tournament. You saw him firsthand. What is his conditioning? What do you think of him?
I think he's exhausted.
Right.
I think he's absolutely shattered, to be honest with you. I'm taking Bautista Agut here. I just think this is a silly price on Hurkacz, given how much tennis he's played. It's a staggering amount of tennis at this late stage of the year. And obviously, Bautista Agut is going to have way more in the tank, having barely played in the last sort of 4 or 5 months. I mean, Hurkacz had played 33 sets of tennis in just over 3 weeks. And 7 of the matches have gone to a final set. And several of them went to a final set tiebreak, as Hurkacz matches tend to do. I just think, I know he's got the motivation, but I just really don't think he's got the physicality to do this. He might do, but I wouldn't back him at these odds. The other issue he's got is facing Bautista Agut, whose style of play is physical style. He plays an awful lot of long rallies, Bautista Agut. Bautista Agut will have also had, I'm assuming this match is on tomorrow. Bautista Agut played his round 1 match on Monday, so he's had a clear 24 hours rest. Not that he should need it, because he's only played 5 matches since July. Looked a lot better against Lehecka in his first round. But if you look at the head-to-head series, it's been very, very close, but Bautista has edged it. 8 of the 11 sets they've contested have gone over 10.5 games. Every opening set they've played has gone to either 12 or 13 games. And the service points won and return points won total is 102 to 98 in favor of Bautista Agut, who's won 60%, a very, very big 60% of second serve points in this matchup, compared with just 44% for Hurkacz. So he's been the better player from the back of the court. If it's going to be a long match, which I suggest it's probably going to be, I think this is just a big problem for Hurkacz. I haven't seen the absolute up-to-date odds on this, but I think it should be a nice price, Bautista Agut here. But
this is good to win the match. It's plus 220. We haven't got any props yet, but I'm
taking that. That's fine. Money line, yeah.
You're happy with the 220? I think it's probably about 2.5 favourite Hurkacz here.
Yeah, I'm happy with the money line. I don't think there isn't really any point in the handicaps, because if Hurkacz does have the energy, and he is on song and he serves firing and all the rest of it, then, maybe he'll win. But I'm just not so sure that it is. I think this is a big, big ask against Bautista Agut. I really do think it's a tough one.
So plus 220 Bautista Agut. That is official play?
Yeah, I'm taking Bautista Agut. I think it's a really good odds.
So how many bets have we got now tomorrow in Paris as our official picks?
Yeah, 2 bets for tomorrow is the official picks. The one I've just mentioned, Bautista Agut, and the other one was Van der Zandschulp to beat Tommy Paul. 2 players that I think are tired, and I'm fading them.
Loving the Botic Van der Zandschulp bet. Not to me, I'm not so sure. I wouldn't bet Hurkacz at minus 275. I get the value in that, but I just think that Bautista Agut hasn't had the top quality matches. He's playing challenger events. He's dropped down. I mean, is he interested? That would be my concern for betting this.
We'll see. He should be. I mean, it's a matter of opinion, isn't it? I mean, he should be interested. He may not, but
he's definitely the price. He's definitely the value at plus 220. There's no doubt about it. He's a 220 value pick. But when you break down things, I mean, we've spoken about how you sort of find bets. Do you think their value? Yeah. Look at their form. Yeah. Look at all the question mark. Who hasn't played that quality? And for me, as I get deeper down, I'll be thinking, oh, but it's plus 220. I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, at that price, I mean, if he was 6-4, then I'd probably be thinking again. But at these odds, I think you have to take the value at this stage.
And you've watched it firsthand. You've seen Hubert Hurkacz play today. You've seen his body language, and he's one player that's all in, isn't he? Almost every set is 7-5, 7-6. It's a long one.
Against Bautista, I've got pretty much every set has been 7-5 or 7-6 in the 4 matches that they've played. Bautista will look to take his legs from him, and he may well be able to do it.
So there you have it. They are the bets. 2 official picks for us tomorrow. Remember, there's 42.99 units in profit this year. Coming to the end of the season, we've only got like 2 weeks now for the season. Hope you enjoyed all the content. Remember, you can follow all our action on our Instagram account at Because We Win on Instagram. Sean will be giving us some Instagram picks tomorrow on his final day in Paris. What time are you flying?
I'm going tomorrow.
What time are you?
I'm flying at lunchtime tomorrow.
Well, when he's flying, he'll be handing the baton to me. Well, I'll be doing the content on my trip to Las Vegas. So I'm looking.
You get Vegas, I get Paris.
Sean, you're the senior handicapper. You can make the calls. You can go there. But anyway, if anybody's stateside who's in Las Vegas or anyone wants to hook up, give us a little message on Twitter. More than happy to join us and enjoy the fun and carry on the laughs over in Las Vegas. So, yeah, I'm flying to Las Vegas tomorrow. But before then, hopefully, we don't know the order of play yet. So we're not quite sure about this, but hopefully we may be able to do a little podcast before then on some extra games. I'm not quite sure we'll be able to do, but if we don't, we'll probably catch a little one later on in the week. So you will get your fair share of podcasts here on Because We're In and on the game bet match, but I'm not quite sure we'll be able to do one tomorrow. But if we can, we will squeeze one in, but I doubt it very much. Anyway, there's 4 ways to follow us, as I say all the time at the end of this podcast. Follow us on the Instagram account at Because We Win, on the Twitter account at Because We Win. Download the podcast at Betting Weekly Game Bet Match on your preferred podcast provider, and also follow us or subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, which is the Betting Weekly Studios. And there's a huge amount of content on there, not only on the tennis, but also on the soccer. Some big matches coming on all across Europe on the big soccer matches. Brilliant coverage on there. Loads of handicappers giving you winners left, right, and centre. So, Sean, finally, have a very safe journey back, my friend. Look after yourself, and I'll catch up with you, I'm sure, next week sometime. And hopefully we cash this evening. We've got some action tonight as well. And we've also got some action for tomorrow as well on the podcast. Hopefully cash some more tickets. Anyone, take care, and we'll speak to you again later on in the week.